Road trips can be tricky. It's important to have the right company. I'm going to talk about a video game that I played on stream. It's a pretty quick one. It's called Road Trip to the End of the World. Now, this is a free game on Steam. And visual novel is probably the best way to describe it. And it follows Andy, who is in the process of trying to get to her childhood best friend's wedding. A wedding that she not only wasn't invited to, you find out later she was explicitly uninvited to. This was her very best friend growing up, but they had a falling out. And now she's on a road trip to try and show up at the wedding and make amends, be there for her friend. And she is accompanied by their sort of mutual imaginary friend, Fishy, that they created together as kids. So this is a very personal journey. It doesn't take very long to play. It's about 2.5 hours at a playthrough. It's been a while since I've played something that I could actually safely say this didn't necessarily have to be a video game. I've occasionally played either visual novels or things that are incredibly narratively driven with minimal gameplay elements. I'm not going to say that there's no elements that sort of lean into what video games enables. But by and large, I'd say this is the first thing that I by the time I was done, and I did enjoy it, to be clear. But by the time I was done, I did find myself going, this could have been a graphic novel and probably not lost very much, if anything. About the extent to which it takes advantage of the video game medium is some of the very few number of times where you are given choices of like how to respond. Sometimes you'll try and pick one of the responses and then maybe it'll gray out because Andy will talk herself out of saying that, or you'll actually only be given one option. It's presented like it's a choice, but there's literally only one thing that you can click, and it speaks a lot to Andy's mindset. So there's little moments like that, but they're kind of sprinkled across, and it is a very straightforward story, and it kind of opens in media res. So we miss the moment when Fishy, for lack of a better word, manifests and Andy starts seeing her. We open with them already on the road trip, but it is openly acknowledged that Fishy has just kind of appeared to Andy only now, and it gets established as it goes along, like no one else can see her, and like even Andy seems to understand this, that this is, something that is largely going on in her head. But as she interacts with Fishy and talks to Fishy and fills Fishy in on some of the gaps with Andy's relationship with Bora, her childhood friend, and what did or didn't happen, what went wrong, how things used to be, because Fishy has very strong memories of, when the two were together and were sharing stories about Fishy, because as I said, sort of a shared imaginary friend. And then the interactions. Fishy is interesting as a character because she is in many ways kind of childlike, but at the same time has a certain amount of insight and emotional maturity that is interesting and plays very well off of Andy, who is very much someone like she's in her early 20s. She is someone who is kind of at a crossroads in her life and is at a point where she's kind of being confronted with her own failings, for lack of a gentler way to put it. She's reached a point where some of the ways that she is and the things that she does have caught up with her, and she has to confront that and take ownership of it to some degree. And it's a well-told little story. I enjoyed it quite a bit, especially for a free game. There's a wonderful just artistic sense to the art. The aesthetic is nice. It's all clearly hand drawn. None of this is AI. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I want to talk a little bit about the ending, so that is a spoiler. It's a free game, and it's only going to take you about 2.5 hours. So if you want to play it, go play it, and then come on back. I, for one, really appreciated the ending, because the ending, after we have gotten a very clear look at how and why things broke down between Bora and Andy, and Bora sort of confronting Andy with her own patterns of behavior and saying, don't bother coming to my wedding, and Andy trying to go anyway and getting there and missing it because of assumptions that she'd made. Like when Bora would talk about having a wedding when she was younger, it was always like, oh, it'll be at sunset. And he just kind of assumed it would. But by the time they get there, like, oh no, this wedding's over. The reception's over. Everybody's gone. And Andy doesn't get the chance to do anything. And I think that's for the best for a lot of reasons. Fishy kind of confronts her earlier, like, what is it you think is going to happen? And what are you going to do if that isn't what happens? And kind of confronting her, like, is this something you're doing for Bora to be there for her, or are you doing this for yourself? And I think it shows a real... It really very much feels like the creatives behind this put a lot of themselves into this. I say themselves because I didn't check the credits for how many people were involved, but this feels like a very personal story. This feels like somebody processing a very personal experience. And I think there is a lot of beauty in acknowledging that, no, you didn't get, to have that beautiful reconciliation that would have made for a really great heartfelt story. But also, if you had gotten that, who would that have been for? Were you there to make amends, or were you there so that you didn't feel so bad about the last time that you saw each other? There is a way of approaching situations like that you can almost trick yourself into like, well, this is for you. I'm doing this for you, but you're not. There's a certain selfishness in that desire to quote unquote make things right when it's not really about the other person. And in this case, Bora explicitly told her to not come. And if you've ever been in a situation like that, like, you can easily like trick yourself to think, okay, look, she said that, but I bet she'll love it when I show up there. Like, is that impossible? No, but that's a really big gamble and a really selfish one. And I like that we see Andy come to terms and be at peace with the fact that she's not going to get the resolution and the closure that she wanted, and that's life. And that this trip was still worth making, and her time with Fishy was still worth having. And Fishy's just adorable. Fishy develops a very strong desire to find the best cheeseburger in the world after having a cheeseburger for the first time, and it is beautiful and wonderful. This was a really sweet game. I enjoyed this a lot. I picked it up because it was free and it looked kind of interesting, and it was. Don't think I can't imagine it's gotten a lot of attention, so I'll try and bring a little more to it. Road Trip to the End of the World. Have you played it? Did you watch me play it? What are your thoughts on this, or any stories that sound like they might be something similar? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, subscribe, they all help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. Now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Zubin Lafula, Auntie Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Oliver B, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Becky Sparks, Ulrich, Twylord, Mystic Shadow, Tracy Scrabbit, Pal Barabajago, Sir Didymus is my favorite, and shoutouts to some random folks from the lower tiers. Thanks to Callum Ray, 3 Muppets in a Trench Coat, and Alex Fireheart. If you want to hear me thank you by name, you can check out the reward tiers on the Patreon. You guys were pretty good today. Thank you.